All right. So yesterday on Sunday, um, Xbox did their little showcase of some of the games coming out this year and next year. And of course, if you don't know, Xbox owns Bethesda now. So Bethesda's showcase was also in that. And we finally got to see some gameplay footage of Starfield. So I'm just going to talk about some of my impressions and what I think about what I saw. So I think one of the coolest things is the idea that there are over 100 solar systems that you can discover and 1,000 planets, and you can go wherever you want on each planet.
And not just this system, but over 100 systems. Over 1,000 planets, all open for you to explore.
What does the scouter say about his power level? It's over 9,000!
This by far I think is one of the coolest things, because it shows you how much better game engines are getting, how much better hardware is getting to be able to even do that. But of course, a lot of people are worried about whether or not that would be great, whether it would just be too much. I think if Bethesda can actually pull it off and actually make it where it actually works, it's not laggy, it doesn't feel lackluster, and they give you over 1,000 planets, then it will be one of the coolest things ever done, because that by far is like mind-blowing. Like no game has done anything like that, where you have over 1,000 different places to visit and each one is unique. Now, I don't know how unique each one is going to really be, simply because, let's be realistic with ourselves. It would take forever to code 1,000 different planets by hand, right? Unless they got like the intern sitting in the corner and his sole purpose, his sole job is just to make the planets in the solar systems. It's just to model them and make them. I doubt they have that. They probably will only make by hand probably 50, maybe 100 planets. The rest will probably be AI generated. I mean, at least that's what I think. I mean, let's be honest. If I was making the game, I would not develop over 1,000 planets by hand. Eventually, I would only develop a couple, and then the rest I would let an AI generator make it and make it random. Now, the question is whether or not if they do that, whether or not it'll feel authentic or if it'll feel lackluster. That's the biggest problem I see. But if it doesn't feel lackluster and they actually do it and it actually works, this would be the greatest thing ever. I always thought the idea of Starfield to be the coolest thing ever, because usually any games that relate into space is either like a sandbox game where you make planets, or you try to turn something like Mars into something like Earth, or it's like No Man's Sky, where you just kind of explore, gather a bunch of stuff and sell them. No one has really done like a space game where like it's like a combination between exploring space and finding something, but also like fighting in space. Usually people do one or the other. I don't think there's ever been a major game that's done both in a nice way. But honestly, when I seen the game, I was like, yeah, this definitely feels like a classic Bethesda game. You know, it feels like, you know, if you've got some Fallout, you've got some Skyrim, which is not a bad idea. People talk about that like that's a bad idea. But when you've been making games as long as they have like, when you make as many games as Bethesda has made, they start to perfect the formula and make it better and use what they made before to make it even better. So I don't see any problem with that. It's just whether or not it's gonna be fun and entertaining. But I'm looking forward to it anyway, because the spacey type of game market is really like not that big. Like the only game I can think of that was like in space that was fun was Outer Worlds. right? The Outer Worlds. If you ever played that, that was made by the team who made Fallout New Vegas, right? Obsidian. That game was really fun. It was really small. You didn't get to explore a lot of planets, but that game was really, really fun. Because I love the idea of like space and exploring, but while also going to planets. And I honestly think more developers, not developers, but more publishers and game companies should definitely tap into that. Because that's something that's definitely lackluster and missing out. But that was just one of the things I thought was cool. Another thing that really was cool to me was just the shipbuilding. You can finally build your own ship. Because most space games that I ever played, you don't build your own ship. It's usually just built. You just upgrade it, but you can't really build it. And it seems like we get a lot of customization options to actually build and put together the ship the way we want it. And we actually get to fly it like it's a car, Not just it being like a home port or a transport point. We actually get to fly it like it's a car, is what it seems like. So I think that would be really cool and really great to see. Another big thing I think that was really interesting to me is in one of the clips when the guys were I guess when your character is fighting a pirate or something, it seems like you're fighting maybe on a ship, or you're fighting in a non-gravity area, and like you're kind of like floating around while also shooting. That is really entertaining and fun to me. Or even the using a jetpack while shooting, that gives me that Titanfall 2 vibes. Like, the reason why Titanfall 2 was so much fun was because you got to bounce around in the jetpack and like shoot as well. You had to like ricochet and like make types of shots like that. But the jetpacks definitely reminded me something of like that I always enjoy because it's different. Most people don't do it. But yeah, I really like the idea of maybe having some non-gravital fights where there's no gravity and you're fighting. That seems really cool. I wonder though, is this game only going to be like just shooting, or is there going to be melee? Because we didn't see any melee at all. Maybe there will be, but it also seems, of course, there are monsters and animals that you have to fight, which is always cool. I would expect that because, again, it's Bethesda. If you ever play Skyrim, a big amount of the enemies you play in Skyrim are animals, the dragons, the creepy spiders. So I expect So I expect there to at least be animals that you're gonna fight and things like that. But my impressions are pretty good off of what I've seen. I was glad we actually got to see actual gameplay from what they had. Now, one thing I did notice was that the colors. Now, of course, what we seen was not a final product by any means. That's what any of these, but the colors did look a little lackluster. They weren't very bright and vibrant. They were more like dull. But I don't know if that just has to do with the settings or if that was just one of the planets that they show. Maybe that planet is supposed to be dull, right? Maybe there's another planet that's more vibrant in color and looks more nicer, right? So, of course, I can't really make a big judgment off of that because, again, we only seen 15 minutes of gameplay. But when Todd Howard, man, when he said there's over 1,000 planets, I had a flashback to that Dragon Ball Z. You ever seen that where Vegeta's like over 9,000? Like that's what I felt. Just like Vegeta felt when he see over 9,000 power level. That's what I felt when Todd Howard said there's gonna be over 1,000 planets. But yeah, overall, I think the impressions are cool. Of course, I never ride the hype train. I never get super excited. I never pre-order crap anyway. Because 1, I don't have the money. 2, I don't have the money. And 3, I don't have the money. And so, I'm just excited to see what this game will be. See how cool it will be. And that's about it. The game itself already looks like it's a ton. I hate to see the size of that game. Especially when he said over 1,000 planets. The size of that game is probably going to be so big. But again, these new engines are really, really good now. So I would just love to see how it's all going to be. But that's really it. That's just my little impressions. Nothing extravagant. Just how I felt after watching the little 15-minute play at the end. And seeing what they had come up with and what they're doing. But yeah. So yeah, if you like what you see here, consider liking the video, possibly subscribing or leaving a comment. I do play games. I don't just do impressions. I just want to do this because it's Starfield and Starfield looked cool and I wanted to talk about it. But yeah. Alright, I'll see you guys next time.